you know how I freed myself? I stopped thinking that everyone is like me. I stopped thinking that way. And that was liberating, because no one is like me. No one is thinking like me. No one is perceiving like life like me, and not at the same time that I do. And even if, let's say, maybe on some level they have similar frequency and maybe they have some kind of a similar perception, maybe not at the same time. And everyone perceives life differently. And it's very foolish for us to project our desires and our beliefs and our feelings onto other people and then expect them to be like those soldiers to do right away everything we want, because they have a completely different world, and many of them are literally unconscious. They're just running programs. They are programmed and they follow the pattern. And if you are an aware, conscious being, you start recognizing actually the patterns and coming out of these patterns. Now, you start perceiving mismatch of frequency. Yeah, you also experience trauma. And what is trauma? It's conditioning, it's a pattern. But now you're conscious enough to come out and you recognize this pattern, and then you try to, meanwhile, to take yourself out of it and then confront these people as if they're also aware and conscious being, but they're not. They're not conscious and aware. And that's where the clash comes from. You try to mold them into who you are. They cannot be. Stop trying to mold people into who you are. Stop trying to take or measure everything in this world according to your own perception. And stop taking things personally. No one is betraying you. No one has ever betrayed. They just followed their patterns. They just followed their conditioning. They just followed sometimes their soul purpose or their heart. They just felt like they don't match someone or something, and they followed their whatever the flow. Now, according to your perception, it's wrong because you cast judgment, because you didn't get something. But from their standpoint, they just followed their whatever pattern, narrative, story of life. And now you both exist in the bondage of you judging them and them feeling guilt and shame, which is detrimental and blocking the spiritual evolution. Now you can liberate yourself any moment. You can liberate yourself any moment by taking that power from them, from the situations, from the timelines, from all these things, and realize that I am in bondage because I still feel that feeling. All I need to do is dissolve the feeling, is remove the power from that feeling back into myself, into the core of myself. But for that, you need to be awakened. If you are not awakened, it means you're not fully conscious and you keep on, boiling in that emotional soup from time to time. And forgiveness is none other than actually looking at it this way, dissolving all these energetic ties and bridges between you and someone else, where you keep on disempowering yourself. You keep on projecting something on them when they are simply incapable. They've never wanted to betray you. They've never wanted to do anything against you. They were just following their, you may say, star. And maybe their star is not as bright as you want it to be. But that's what it is. And if all of us would realize this sooner or later, we would just feel liberated from this nonsense of expectations, of constantly trying to mold people into something, shape them into something, expect something from them, take everything personally, and then cast judgment upon them. We all are in bondage because of judgment. We judge ourselves in the situations and we judge them. And then whoever feels more righteous is sort of getting the benefit, but this is an illusion of a benefit. No one is benefiting because everyone is suffering. That's why in all the, spiritual texts or teachings from the past, they warned people from judging, because when you're in that kind of entanglement of judging and righteousness, right and wrong, you are in this bondage. You cannot actually enjoy the flow of life unconditionally. You keep on draining yourself and exhausting your spiritual essence, which is kind of inexhaustible. But when you are in the body, there is a certain limit, especially when you follow the paths of unconsciousness. And even if you're aware and you continue doing it with the awareness, then you're just foolish. So you have to break this cycle. And people create all these idealistic thoughts about, like, oh, to break the cycle, to liberate spiritually, I need to go out of my body, out of this. You can go many times out of the body, you can become aware of all these patterns, but if you cannot really practice it and dissolve it and say, listen, I take all my power back, whenever I feel that I'm tripping emotionally, I may be biochemically deficient, or maybe there is some planetary energy and I connect to it, and then I start flowing with this negativity towards myself, I start disempowering myself. If you're aware enough, just stop it. Just take your power back and say, okay, I can feel it, but I don't need to create a story. I don't need to be in this soup or continue being a victim. And when you take your power back, you become responsible for the flow. And you have a choice. This is the only choice that we have. To be a victim of life or to be free. When you recognize that these patterns and programs are creating bondage through the idea of righteousness, you stop being righteous then. You say, you know what, no one is right or wrong. I was born in these circumstances. I have these parents, they were following their purpose like everyone else. Why should I connect to limited ideas about who I am when I am an immortal, eternal consciousness? Why am I conditioning myself like by choosing to just hold on to narratives that are not even a part of my present moment? They are all my past. So why do I keep myself in bondage of the past, dragging the heavy chain and draining myself and aging and exhausting myself and again roaming in this, but so much holding on to it that I cannot even imagine my life without it. People say, I want to get rid of this trauma, I want to get rid of this emotional baggage, and yet they hold onto it for dear life. It's so difficult. So when you're crying, when you're feeling that tension, just say to your body, please release it. Please release it. I command it to come out of me. It doesn't belong to me because I am an eternal being and my body is an eternal temple. I deserve to be content, to be happy, to be, unconditionally balanced. And for that, all I need to do is affirm that I release all these patterns, all these conditions that I've created, all the stories and narratives of my parents, of their parents, that I belong to this, that I did that I owe somebody something. No one owes anybody anything. And the moment you free yourself, you really tap into that type of a potential that allows you to succeed in life on all levels. And success in life means you're first of all balanced and content, you're very healthy, you're very vital, you have a lot of creative thinking. Your energy that has been exhausting itself or draining now is there available for you to really express yourself in an independent, abundant way. And then you can start really doing things without all these thoughts, self-doubts, all these conditionings. Because there is nothing worse than self-sabotage and self-conditioning. And thinking that, oh, I'm righteous in this. The moment you become righteous about something, you already limited yourself. And your consciousness remains in bondage. And you're a victim and everyone owes you and you're entitled and you don't want to do anything. And you start pushing kind of your own essence, your wholesomeness onto other people, blaming them that they don't do what you want, that they don't get what you want, instead of actually keeping that energy and really directing it in a much different way. So most of the people who become successful in life are actually masters of energy. They understand that all the negative thoughts, they're not to be, pushed away, or you don't need to hide away from them. You need to confront them. You need to understand that they're someone's shadows. You need to look into them in silence and recognize that they could be from the bloodlines, paternal, maternal bloodlines, from immediate parents, from grandparents, from the social circle you're in. And then when you recognize that they are the shadows and the patterns, you see how they keep on draining you, how they keep on propelling self-doubt, procrastination, laziness, inability to discipline, inability to direct your energy towards proper time management, money management, self-management. And once you realize this, you take that power back and you start becoming stronger. And then even if there is a moment that you again feel a bit frustrated, a bit emotional, you start removing your self-identity, disconnecting it from all these patterns. Yeah, you may still feel it, you may still feel these contractions, but this is not you, not a part of you anymore. And just by affirming that you command them to release, to go, that you affirm the release of these patterns from your body, you restore your power. Immediately you feel more inspired. Immediately you start feeling more creative. Immediately you feel that the world is actually not crushing down on you. It was just a feeling. And the more you do it, the stronger you become. And that's how you heal. Because trauma is not a monster. Trauma is just that persistent feeling that you refuse to face. And it's something that you constantly feed instead of releasing it. So if you stop feeding it and commanding it, you know what? It's not me. Procrastination is not me. Self-doubt is not me. Self-righteousness is not me. Desire to prove myself, desire to be constantly on the top or validate myself is not me. That's my insecurity. So you clearly see the difference between the true self, which is content, balanced, compromising, open to other people, open to all perspectives, and that limited, kind of like an evil self, which is hurting itself, but yet cannot get rid of that hurt, of that pain, of that limitation, because what hurts is the limitation. That's why people who prolong these pains and trauma and who don't heal themselves become eventually very diseased, because they drain the energy to such a degree that the body starts hurting and pointing out these areas which are draining. That's what the pain is. It's the pain of limiting beliefs, ideologies, ideas that are not supposed to be there. You're supposed to be free from all of this. Look at nature. Nature doesn't have ideologies, beliefs. It exists because it's in the natural flow of existence. But people created systems and get hurt because of that. Look, even if there is a parent, mother lion, father lion, or mother snake, father snake, they leave the offspring, meaning they lay eggs or they create an offspring, and then they allow that offspring to develop in a natural way after they've observed that the offspring is capable of managing itself. And then I don't think that in the animal kingdom or in the bird kingdom, that any of this offspring demands, like, oh, you need to create a nest for me. No, when they become themselves sufficient, they start creating their own nest, looking for the. So this entitlement comes from the somewhat some kind of a genetic corruption of the human being, you see. And if you realize this, you remove any type of entitlement. When you remove entitlement, you get healed. You stop expecting anything from your parents, from your children, from your spouses, or whatever, from your whatever friends even. You allow them to be in their own element because you are yourself in your own element. It doesn't mean that you have to agree or disagree. You just express yourself at any point in time, freely and yet diplomatically, politely, acknowledging that they may exist in a different timeline with different perspectives. You allow them to be who they are because you allow yourself to be who you are. That's what it is to be a free, unbound, spiritually aware, and healthy human being. The reference point of which is non-existent almost at this point, because we all latch onto each other's energies. We all want to vampirize. We all feel like somebody owes us something. Oh, if it's my mother or my father or anyone, they owe me something. We demand, we get hurt. You know, it's all conditioning. And I do understand that everyone may go through these things, but once you start adding the fifth element, this higher consciousness, the awareness of these patterns, it all starts dissolving. Just because you become aware, it's all over. The game over, to the game of these shadows, of these conditionings, it's over, it dissolves, and you feel so strong because all that energy is now free, liberated. Yes, we're still in this prison on this earth. We're still conditioned to some degree, but at least the sense of perception of life and its flow changes, and you feel so content no matter what's happening or not happening around you. And that's the ideal. That's the state of freedom while you're alive. When you get out of this body, again, if you're already free throughout life, you cannot be in bondage when you're out of the body. So at the moment of parting with your body, you will carry that state of contentment and bliss with you, and you recognize, I'm a free soul. And if there is a play of mind or some foul play, some kind of, astral projections, you will be able to navigate and recognize that these are all shadows of the collective. This has nothing to do with me because I'm a free soul. I always been. But because I'm in this body, because I came through these parents, I inherited conditioning. And even they could be not the conditionings of your parents, but of your bloodlines. So this is what the work is about. You're refining the conditioning of the bloodlines. You may be thinking that your father is guilty, your mother is guilty, but they are thinking that their parents are guilty, and so on and so forth. So now the time is to break that cycle of guilt and shame and allow yourself to raise the vibration and to come to the point of acceptance, and then further the point of love. And love has nothing to do with you owe me this or I owe you this. No. It's just within you. It's a feeling of peace and liberation and freedom to be as you are, not in an egotistical way, but in a way that when you are not judgmental, when you are not righteous, when you are not holding on to anything, and yet you are absolutely beautiful being whose energy is so vibrant that everyone attracts to you. Everyone wants to spend time. Everyone wants to learn from you. Without you wanting to teach anyone, wanting to heal anyone. That's what's the liberated frequencies, and everyone is capable if only they were able to let go. And so if you cannot let go, then you keep on holding on to suffering and justifying it. Suffering is not justified. It doesn't need to be there. if we were only to recognize that. So yes, that's what I realize myself, and that's what I'm trying to convey, because this is not a rocket science. And it seems to be so easy, and yet when we get, affected by these shadows, it's almost like a veil, it's almost like a blindfold. We feel restricted in ourselves. So now if you're aware, you can observe these restrictions. You can breathe in, breathe out, and even somewhat navigate and master your nervous system. Where you feel this contraction, you say, okay, is this contraction me? No, it's not you. Is this pain me? It's not me, but I'm still feeling it. Fine. You acknowledge it without a story, and it will dissipate. You say, I acknowledge it, but it's not me, and I release it. I command it to come out of my body, out of my life, out of my destiny, out of my solar plexus, out of my heart, out of whatever area, wherever you are perceiving it. This way you heal. And it seems to be simple, but most of the people think that to liberate themselves spiritually or mentally or emotionally, they need to make so much. They need to do so much, which is not true. It's actually you being connected with your body and mastering it by affirming it that I no longer need that energy information in my body. And that's it. It's enough. And yes, you may feel sometimes like crying, then you are just in that element. Okay, you cry. It comes out on its own. If you feel that it's not coming out, then you say, I command it to come out. And then maybe there is something that will trigger you from the external reality that will push this cry out. And this way we heal ourselves, alchemize the body, transform it, and allow much higher frequency, much higher awareness to dwell in it. This is the way to also regenerate, rejuvenate, and enlighten the body. The key is to bring that higher awareness into the physical dimension, into the emotional dimension, into the intellectual dimension, and to realize that whatever I considered as foreverness, as important, as this and that, is just an illusion, is just a constraint, is just a conditioning. But for that, of course, you need to be enough aware and also self-aware, where you can admit that certain patterns do exist there and have enough courage to release them. Because a lot of people are still in that stagnant mindset where they want to see themselves perfected or perfect, and they cannot admit that they still have something to resolve or to let go of or to heal. So these kind of beings have very little chance to actually transform. In order to be able to transform, we need to acknowledge that we are not perfect and there is a lot that we have to release. Even if it doesn't belong to our consciousness originally or to our soul, because of these bloodlines, we carry that information energy, or we are still connecting through our genetics to this information and energy. And that's why we need to conceal our spiritual body, our physical body, and shield ourselves from these energies. Yes, we can acknowledge that they do exist in the physical reality or in the whatever collective reality, but it doesn't need to be our reality anymore. Anyways, let's just focus now. This is kind of the healing through this verbal transmission. Also, it sets a foundation for you to release all this, because whatever you already release now, maybe just things will come up. So if you might just feel a bit of like crying, so keep on just releasing without any more, this is just a feeling, just an energy charge, which I no longer have to keep in my nervous system or my heart or my solar plexus or anywhere. But it has nothing to do with me. Now, through this session, you've realized that none of this is important. Imagine the table consists of hundreds of molecules. Every molecule is important, but it just fulfills its own role there. So now you're a conscious particle. And sometimes it's actually important to do this meditation. When you're a particle, you have no eyes, you have no nose, you have no mouth, you cannot smile, you cannot cry. You're a particle, like an atom or some kind of a quantum particle, like a light particle, like a dot. What is your emotion? Like, do you think the particle has emotion? So, and it's kind of helps you to transcend from this emotional realm of human existence, which is illusionary. I mean, it feels like as if it's actual, but it's a certain just level. And if you imagine that you're a particle, it takes you away from a lot of emotional baggage and mental kind of rubbish, right? You just thought about it. Okay, how would it be if I were a particle? None of this would matter. Now, your consciousness is like that conscious particle. It descends into a human body, but then it exists also beyond the human body. So try to visualize sometimes, do this from time to time. Yes, release the emotions and then concentrate. What if I were a particle? This will help you to not only release, but kind of start growing spiritually more, ascending from this emotional entanglements. Okay, we're accepting the father. The father is shut down. He doesn't know how to love. He doesn't know how to do anything. Fine. Can you change the nature of a table? Imagine you have a round table, but you want it to be a square. Or you want it to be a cup. Can you make a cup out of a table? So you see, everything has a meaning. Can you make an elephant out of a tiger? And when you realize that everyone is just a round being, and you see this as an example, like, I so much love this person, I want them to do exactly what I want, but that is not love. That is entitlement for feeding your illusion of, let's say, a father or a lover. It means you don't see them realistically and you don't accept them. Now, if you're a father, if your father is a tiger, you just say, okay, he's a tiger. I'm not trying to make a rabbit out of him because I want to be receiving love from a bunny. You know, like it's kind of like that. So you understand their nature because you've understood and accepted yourself. It's like, oh, I wish my girlfriend, my boyfriend were doing exactly what I want and satisfy myself. Impossible. Be yourself and choose wisely, and understand that certain people have limitations which will never be able to transcend because they've already crystallized in that. They are the limitation in your life. That is their frequency. They play a program to show you your own limitations. Realize what I've been saying to you. I'm not only saying, I'm not saying, I'm transmitting it. You will see that this whole world doesn't even have any anymore. But yet you can still give yourself a meaning. Because you exist. You are conscious, and that's what matters. The whole world can do whatever they want. It's like, you know, the less you demand from your people around, the more they actually give to you. And you can make an experiment with that. Take everything, all these things and thoughts which you projected on your father. Okay, he didn't perform, he betrayed, he did this, that. Take that power away, back into yourself. And just let him be, and he will start healing. Because maybe your subconscious anger and guilt is hurting him and hurting his existence. Maybe because of that hurt and that he cannot enjoy his life. The same with the mother. Look, she chose what she chose. Like, your anger and frustration is maybe operating behind the scenes and pushing her into addictions, pushing her into something. Let go. Let them be. Let them enjoy. Let they choose alcohol. Let them indulge. Let them destroy their body. Who are you to control? Before, you didn't even know them before this existence. Let everybody be. That should be your affirmation if you want to be a happy person. Let everybody be themselves. Let everybody exist in their own element and do what they please. And this is the only truth that will liberate you, because you cannot be other people and other people cannot be you. All you can do is embrace your wholesomeness, wholeness, and eternity. So today we're releasing a lot from the heart. We're releasing a lot from the solar plexus. We're releasing a lot from the root. There is forgiveness and letting go. You are really finally now getting grounded into yourself. Finally, we've arrived into this point, at this point of grounding into yourself. You have a right to exist on your own. You're absolutely autonomous. Your heart, your root, your solar plexus are opening to your own soul, to your own eternal, immortal existence, blissful, content, peaceful. Your existence is not defined by other people, by their thoughts, their definitions, their conditionings. You are a powerful being in your own existence, in your own simplicity. And everything shifts. Your heart is opening. Your throat is opening. You start speaking, expressing yourself openly. You release all these thoughts, all these feelings of so-called betrayal or pain, because none of these are true. You've been empowering them. Now they are invalid for your existence. You're taking all that power, all that focus back into your solar plexus and concealing your field, preserving your energy so that you can heal and align with a higher being, with your true self, with the immortal existence. Your consciousness releases all the conditionings, all the paternal, maternal bloodlines, patterns, and corruption that has been accumulated for thousands of years. What a freedom. And deep activation happens naturally, effortlessly. Because like a bud of a flower, you open towards the sun to receive the rays, the warmth, that eternal unconditional love and contentment of your own being. And this is the way to change your life once and for all. The warmth, bliss, activation of the root, the sacred, solar, the heart. The crown, deep alignment.